Okay, so good evening sa ating lahat. Welcome sa mga kakapasok lang. And ito na po yung ating last discussion, processing pala ng sa tatlong methodologies. Nauna tayo sa casework kahapon, group work kaninang hapon, at ngayon, Sunday, January 17, 2021, 7 p.m., we will try to discuss and process the 100-item question sa community organizing. So ngayon, number one, nakikita naman natin na yung mga highlighted na part, tsaka naka-bold, tsaka naka-underline, yun yung tamang sagot. Okay. So, number one, ang question is, an indigenous social work approach that develops the barangay's capability for problem solving and development. Sa inyong mga ma-remember, if you're not familiar with baranganic approach, doon sa inyong undergrad na discussion, obviously, nakikita naman natin yung baranganic approach is the only related term to what was questioned. But if you try to define the concept of paluwagan, paluwagan is a form of social welfare. So it is a form of social welfare because it exists for mutual benefit and mutual interest. So masali dyan ang mga tao because they gain from the membership. So kasi 'di ba sa atin marami tayong views of social welfare. Meron tayong institutional, meron tayong residual, meron tayong neoliberal, meron tayong meron tayong developmental. So yun yung four views of social welfare. Ang nakasulat sa orange book is institutional tsaka residual lang. And with that perspective of how we view social welfare, meron din tayong different institutions that provide social welfare. Isa dyan yung social welfare agency, no? The government, NGO, people's organization, and even family, church and family. So ang pinaka-last na nadagdag sa listahan is yung paluwagan system, no? Or mutual benefit system. So yan. Ang damayan naman, I think you're familiar with this. And bayanihan. These are people's organizations intervention para maibsan ang pasanin, may it be socio-economic activity doon sa kanilang member. Okay. So number two, meron din tayong iba't ibang approaches, no? Baranganic approach is one of the three approaches in community organizing. Una diyan is yung baranganic approach. Yung baranganic approach, alam naman natin, we empower the barangay structure, yung punong barangay, the council, the SIL, and other administrative support na mga personnel. Yun yung ibig sabihin. And aside from that, baranganic approach can also be defined as it has been founded through the philosophy that individual, group, community, and national growth and development can only come about when there is an active participation and involvement of people themselves in any development process. So yun. Ang pangalawang approach ng community organizing is yung BCC or Basic Christian Communities. Itong Basic Christian Communities, they partake on community or group actions, political and socio-economic activities as a result of faith reflection. So ang basic principle naman ng BCC or Basic Christian Communities, una is, yun, people are makers of history. Pangalawa, they involves in progressive elements, classes, but foundation must be the basic masses. And last would be, they create historical models. So alam naman natin yung Zone 1 Tondo and even the People Power Revolution, ang prime mover ng BCC or Basic Christian Community, isa sila sa mga prime mover na nakapaglunsad. That is why tinaguriang successful yung ZOTO or Zone 1 Tondo and the people power movement. Okay. If you might ask, kasi iba't iba naman may iba't iba naman tayong political ideology na pinaniwalaan. Some of you might lean towards the liberal ideals. Some of you are pro-Marcos, yung mga ganong mga idea na the EDSA revolution was a hoax and it was only participated by about 2.2 million and majority of them were the Manileños but the rest of the countries were not participating. Therefore, it is not a revolution. Kung ganon yung paniniwala ninyo, that's fine. But I respect that. But in answering social work board exam, alam naman natin that people EDSA revolution or people power was considered as one of the successful movement facilitated by BCC, and therefore the principle involved or philosophical foundation of BCC is so much aligned with our principle. Therefore, we should lean. We have this bias towards the people power or EDSA movement. Anyway, that's a side note. Okay, number 2. It's a process of identifying problems and needs, prioritizing them, formulating solution in solving problems, attaining needs, and implementing them through cooperative and collaborative efforts, which results to improve capacity in community problem-solving process and community integration. Obviously, nakikita natin that it is community organizing. But if I were to ask, sino ang nag-define ito? Sige, I will give you an option. A. Maury Ross. B. Sino ngayon? Si Saul Alinsky. C. Sino pa ba? Si Carrie and wait lang. Need to remember. Sino yung ibang author ng community organizing? Perlman and Gurin. Yun. D. Si Arthur Dunham. E. Meron pang letter E. Wait lang. Paulo Freire. Dagdagan pa natin letter F. Kasi isa-isahin natin yung mga different sikat na authors when it comes to community organizing. Si C.F. McNeill, G. Wayne Macmillan, H. Kramer and Speck. O yan. Baka yung mga nabanggit ko ay bago sa inyong mga pandinig. O ano yung answer? Sino among the choices?
Moreira.
It is si Murray Ross. Yan. It was Murray Ross who defined. It is Murray Ross who defined that, who highlighted that definition. Ang kay Murray Ross naman na na keyword, kung titingnan natin, yun. Tinitingnan niya yung process mismo. No? Identifying problems, prioritizing, formulating solution, and implementing them through cooperative and collaborative effort. So the process itself, the helping process. Pag sinasabi naman nating Perlman and Gurin, sino yung nag-join? Hindi ko ma-accept. Pag sinasabi naman natin Perlman and Gurin, yung sa kanila namang definition is, it is a process of finding solution to a social problems by redistributing resources. I-highlight nyo na lang siguro yung process of finding solution. Remember that Perlman is also the proponent of the problem-solving process. Okay, so para hindi kayo malito, finding solution to a problem. Perlman and Gurin. Kay Arthur Dunham naman is yung matching needs. Mobilizing forces and mobilization of forces and resources. Matching needs to a existing problem. Kay McNeill naman, ang kanya namang definition is yung CO, for social welfare, is a process by which people in communities and individuals, citizens, or representative of groups join together to determine social welfare needs. So medyo align yung kang CF McNeil doon sa social welfare needs. Community organizing has been formed as a methodology to answer social welfare needs. Yun lang para mas madaling ma-remember. Kay Wayne McMillan naman, he is highlighting the objective of community organizing, which is to help people find ways to give expression to their inherent desires to improve the environment. So yun, mas align doon sa improvement of their social environment. Kay Wayne McMillan. Kay Kramer and Speck naman, find CEO as a method. Yung highlight naman nila is community organizing as a method to which they referred CO as a methodology of which intervention whereby a professional change agent helps a community action system composed of individuals, groups, organizations to engage in a collective action. Alright. So yun yung mga sikat na authors that defines community organization. Okay. Number 3. It is the period when community organization adopted two-pronged approach. One is to strengthen people organization to gain more power. And second, implement socio-economic activities to support their immediate needs. So it was during the time of 1980s and 1990s. So recorded naman ito. You can access this material kasi mayroon mga highlight no when it comes to history ng community organizing. Alam naman natin that 1940s was the period of war, no? 1950s naman was the reconstruction period. 60s to 70s, the first developmental decade. 70s to 80s, ang highlight was participatory development because it was the time of EDSA revolution. 1990s and 1980s to 1990s, socio-economic work. 1990s to onward is sustainable and gender development. But if we try to follow the framework of social change and development, yung 2000 to 2015, it was the time of Millennium Development Goals or MDG. Pagka 2015 to 2030, yung current na time natin, it is engaged with attainment of sustainable development goals. So, yan, konting trivia about the historical development of community organizing. So ngayon, number 4. Community development had its birth through the initiative of SWA or Social Welfare Administration. Now, I also want to highlight that you need to research, no? Kasi I cannot remember well the exact detail of how the DSWD came into its place right now. Kasi, di ba, alam naman natin that there was an evolution from, di ba, there was a time pa nga na isa lang, it started with Insular Board, no? If you can still remember your history class, it started with Insular Board. That was the time of the American colonization in our country. Then later on, Commonwealth period. Then there was a time na nagkaisa yung, I'm not sure what year was that, na isa lang yung concern ng Department of Health tsaka yung DSWD ngayon. Tsaka pagdating sa kang Marcos, naging ministry, MSSD, Ministry of Social Service and Development. Tsaka by the virtue of Executive Order number 123 from ministry, naging DSWD. And it was the time of our late President Corazon Aquino. So, up until now, DSWD pa rin yung ginagamit natin. So, please research on that. Baka lumabas, no? The history of DSWD. Number 5. The goal of CO, which is helping people in community or groups strengthen their quality of participation, self-direction, and cooperation is, ito, process goal. In community organizing, as identified, no? As identified by some literature, there are 3 goals in community organizing. Task goal, has something to do about the accomplishment of any activities related to the predetermined goal of the community. Process goal naman has something to do about the quality of participation, direction, and cooperation. And the relationship goal has something to do about the maintenance of harmonious relationship in the organization or in the community. Okay. So yun yung basically yun yung tatlong goals ng CO. Number 6, element of CO, which refers to tapping and maximum utilization of human material resource necessary to achieve self-reliance of people in power is, so marami tayong elements of community organizing, some of which are education and training, formation of people's organization, and mobilization of resources. Ang obvious naman no na merong utilization of human and material resources. The mobilization of resources is what we're looking for. But if we want to dig in with the different elements, marami yan, no? Education and training. That is why kung mapapansin nyo ang sa inyong curriculum doon sa undergrad pa ninyo, ang prerequisite ng community organizing, I think based on my personal experience, is the community education and training. Because community education and training is one of your interventions upon organizing the community. Remember, it is one of your interventions. So there are a lot of interventions. And isa din sa mga element na kinakailangan natin ma-master in community organizing is to mobilize the resources. So alam naman natin that our intervention not be coming from our own pocket money. So we should mobilize resources. And ito yung side note lang, ang pinaka-importanteng resource that we can tap in the community that we're trying to organize is the people themselves. No? The people, the community. Sila yung pinaka-important asset or important resource. Okay. Number 7. The element of CO, which refers to various forms of educational activities meant to conscientize and develop people's critical awareness of their existing conditions is education and training. Okay. Number 8. This may be included as a fourth strategy of social action wherein interest groups attend committee meeting of the legislative bodies and legislative sessions itself to show support of or protest against passage of certain bills or some of its offending provisions. So we are looking at social action as a model. No? How many models do we have in CO? Based from our orange book. There are 3. What are those? We have ano yan? Yun. Mayroon nag-answer si Aljon. Locality development, social planning, and social action. Very good. Locality, social action, and planning. Okay. Sa locality development, another term niya is community development. So baka malito kayo, locality development and community development is the same. Social planning, iba din yan na model, and social action. Ang pinaka-least na least popular na model at saka pinaka rare lang na makita natin na ginagamit sa community organizing na model is the social action. Okay. Kasi nga observation lang, this is a personal opinion. Most of the communities right now are apathetic and they feel indifferent. And that in itself is the greatest barrier to community organizing. No, some of them, wala na. They feel, andun na sa stage ng apathy. And it is almost impossible to use social action if that would be the situation of our communities. So that is why locality development ang mas sikat sa tatlo. Okay. Now ngayon, we are looking into the 4 strategies in social action. Which of these options ang tinutukoy na wherein the group attend a committee meeting of the legislative body and legislative session? Yung 4. Okay? First is social brokerage. Second is lobbying. Third is use of integrative mechanisms to strengthen organization. And fourth is social protest to support social movement. Itong social brokerage, ang point dito is yung primary ang may responsibility ang primary responsible person dito is si social worker. He is acting on behalf of the community, no? That is why he try to have an engagement with other system. That is social brokerage. Lobbying, ito yon, yung definition kanina, a group, may it be a core group that you're trying to organize, umupo doon sa legislative session that they think that the community feel na yung isang policy ay oppressive. Ang isang policy is alienating. Therefore, they sit in that legislative body for them to hear their concern. Yun yung lobbying. Third is use of integrative mechanism to strengthen organization. Marami itong sub-elements na we will discuss later. And last would be social protest to support social movement. Ito yung mas sikat, no? We tend to associate political or socio-economic movements, or yung mas kilala natin sa rally, as social action. It is one of the strategies, no? Marami pang ibang strategies ng social action. But we are looking for lobbying as an answer. Okay. Number 9. Okay. Situation ata ito. 3 months after their transfer, the relocated squatters in their location site received their contracts to buy the ready-made one-room concrete homes. Question, anong pinagkaiba ng squatter tsaka sa ang tawag dito? Sa squatter tsaka sa, can you guys help me? Ano nga yung isa pa? Informal settler. Yan. Anong pinagkaiba ng dalawa?
Hindi na po socially acceptable yung word na squatters. Kasi
Why?
parang liberally correct po yung word na informal settler. Parang wait lang sir. Alam ko yun sir, wait lang. Nalimutan ko din.
Sige. Some idea? Is it politically correct to use the term squatter? Or are we prefer informal settler?
Ayun sir.
Or are we aligned with the tawag nito, term urban poor, which is which?
Yun sir, politically correct po yung kasi po frowned upon na po yung word na squatter, kaya po ginawang informal settler po and urban poor.
Ang sa atin naman mas tawag nito, mas katanggap-tanggap, no? Yun, tama yan. Politically correct yung term na urban poor. Ito yan na yung common terminology na ginagamit natin. But in legal perspective, acceptable pa rin yung squatter, yung informal settler, and urban poor. It differs now as to the claim of the land. Kung pag sinasabi nating squatter, private property. So it is a private property na binahayan ng mga group of people, usually migrants from rural areas, na nakatira sa urban setting. Kaya nagsasquat sila. Yun yung legal perspective. That is what we call squatter. Yung informal settler naman, hindi private property yung kanilang tinutuluyan, kundi government owned na land. Pero yung land na yan is hazardous and much more exposed with the risk. Example, na settler nakatira sa ilalim ng tulay, nakatira sa mga riverbanks, nakatira sa landslide-prone area, na supposed to be pagmamay-ari ng gobyerno na hindi pinapatirhan kasi nga, yun, delikado. Yun sa mga seaside, no? Sa mga seawall na nakatira. Yun yung mga informal settler. Kasi ang nagmamay-ari ang gobyerno, pero they are exposed to much higher risk. Tsunami, flooding, and etc. Urban poor naman is the general term for those people who have no legal claims for their land, so especially in the urban setting, and who has no basic, who has limited access to basic amenities and social welfare services. Yun yung urban poor. So in technical aspect, pwedeng tanggapin yung term na squatter, informal settler, and urban poor. But in general, in social work, we use the term urban poor. But remember, not all informal settlers are squatter. There are also rural na mga sa rural areas. Pero ano lang, rare na mga case lang yan. Okay. So, patuloy tayo. The homes will be paid on installment basis for a period of 5 years. One family beneficiary discovered that the contract clause stipulated that, quote, failure on the part of the tenant to pay monthly amortization for 6 months will be a basis for automatic ejection from their homes. This part of the contract was considered unfair and threatening since they learned about it only after 3 months and they only have 3 months left to re-establish themselves and get new jobs. Not to mention the added expenses on their part for transportation, fare to their old places of work. The concerned residents brought up this problem to the attention of the CO worker. The CO worker met with other residents of their location site to assess if they had shared perceptions and reactions to the same problem. Finding out that this is shared problem, he contracted the housing authority, official in charge of the project. The CO worker presented the residents' dilemma and explored how the housing agency could modify the term of the contract to make it more realistic and within the capacity of the newly relocated squatters. The housing authority in turn presented a counter-proposal which the CO worker took back to the residents for approval. The negotiations between the residents and the housing authorities with the help of CO worker went well until satisfactory compromise was forged. What role or roles did the CO worker play? So nakikita natin, it was negotiator. Ang broker kasi does not need compromise, no? You present you are presenting the position of the urban poor to a certain institution without compromise. Then the institution may agree with your position or not. They may accept that or reject that. Negotiator, on the other hand, nakikita natin that inuna na nag-consult muna si CO worker doon sa community and he presented the position. And later on, ito yung version na naman ni housing authority, binalik naman doon sa community. And they both have compromise. Yun yung pinagkaiba ng negotiator tsaka facilitator. Negotiator tsaka broker. Iba din naman yung facilitator. No? Walang siguro in the detail doon sa mismong consultation nagkaroon ng facilitation. But what we are looking at is the specific role in the total in the process of making securing those tawag nito agreement. So it was negotiator. Okay. And what CO model was used in this case? So obviously, it was social action. Kasi social action siya, it's because there is something wrong about the system, no? The legal system, it was written in the document. So makikita natin that social action is not that aggressive as you assume. No? As you might think na pag social action talagang nagrarally, nagprotesta, nagkakaroon ng aggression. But it was not, no? Lobbying and negotiating in behalf of the community is a strategy used in social action. So hindi naman siya pwedeng social planning because social planning is a technical stuff that was usually played by the expert and ginagawa siya doon sa structure sa barangay structure. No? And it involves a multitude of programs and services across the social welfare field. No? Merong sa health, merong sa education, meron sa social welfare, meron sa environment, ganun yung social planning. Locality development naman is more on with the process of they highlight people's participation. They organize themselves because they perceive there is a need for an organization for a problem to be addressed. Tapos they plan together, they implement it with the guide of the worker. Yun yung nature ng locality or community development. So, ang model na ginamit ni worker was social action. Okay. Number 11. Communities have informal, formal, and societal resource systems. What are the informal resource systems of the community? Okay. 1. IA. Family members, other residents and neighbors. B. Social worker and his agency. C. Housing authority. D. Legal system. So, yung informal resource system is yung family members, other residents and neighbors because they are not legally obliged to perform to be linked with they are not legally obliged to provide resources for the resolution of the community's problem. Kaya nga informal siya. But social work and his agency, alam naman natin, no? Meron tayong Code of Ethics. And our agency is mandated by, maybe sanctioned by an NGO or more so with the government. Kasi talagang government is the primary duty bearer. Housing authority is a legal system. So these three are formal resources. Okay. 12. The social worker and his organization exemplify. Ito, I think mali itong answer na ito. Okay. Mali itong answer na informal. Dapat ang answer dito, highlight lang natin ha. Yan. Dapat ang answer is societal resource. Okay. Number 13. This phase of the process signals that the CP and the CW, anong ibig sabihin ng CP? This phase of the process signals that the CW are already prepared to work together as partner in development. Anong ibig sabihin ng CP and tsaka CW? Anyway, let's skip this. I think to review this. Nalagay ko na question pero hindi ko pala na-review. Anyway, sige. Skip muna natin yun. I will follow up sa group chat kung anong ibig sabihin nun. 14. It is an integral part of the development and change processes where the interconnectivity of its various critical elements and evaluations are seen from the contributive rather than attributive view. Okay. What are our options? Capacity building, capacity development, capacity building, social praxis, and core group formation. Now we are looking at highlight. Contributive rather than attributive. We're looking at the connectivity of critical elements and and evaluation are seen from the contributive rather than attributive. Ito, capacity development would mean contributive. Contributive. Capacity building is attributive. Social praxis is basically coming from the awareness, no? Coming from the awareness of the people or critical consciousness about what is happening around them, they act on that problem. Okay. So para siyang process practicing the theory basically that comes from conscientiously. Core group formation. Iba na yung core group formation. It's part na yan ng phases ng community organizing. Tama naman yung spelling ng conscientization ko. Anyway, okay. Hindi pa na-recognize. Number 15. This tool for problem solving derived from the work of Kurt Lewin-Field's field theory of social change. It is process of identifying dimensions of dimensions of a problem and determining the strategies for solving it. Obviously, it is force field analysis. No, you are identifying the resisting force and enabling force. So basically, lahat ang community are caught between, no. So once ma-identify yan, then you will the community itself that you're trying to organize will propose a solution to minimize the resistance force. SWOT analysis or strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. SWOT is basically you are looking into strength and weaknesses. It is internal. Opportunities and threats are external na mga elements. Participatory Rural Appraisal or PRA, ito yung assessment, no? Pag sinasabi kasi nating appraisal, ang other words ng appraisal is assessment, no? The people are involved in from the very beginning of the community organizing work, from defining the problem up until doon sa pag-implement ng solution. Appreciative planning and action, ito yung pwede nating ma-relate doon sa strength-based perspective. Appreciative planning and action, they are more focused with the assets and resources and strengths of the community present. So yun yung highlight ng tool na yan. Okay, number 16. Ito na yun. This is an organizational methodologies that follows the 4D cycle. So yung appreciative planning and action starts with discovery. Next is dream or visioning, or basically planning yan. What at the end of how many years, ano na yung nakikita natin sa ating barangay or sa ating community. And after that visioning or dreaming, then design a plan, then they design a plan or activities. Then last would be destiny or delivery of that plan. So ang 4D cycle, discovery, dream, design, and destiny are the phases of appreciative planning and action. Basta ang i-keep lang ninyo sa inyong mind kapag sinasabi natin, for example, appreciative inquiry, appreciative planning and action, the same lang yan sila. They are more focused into the assets, strengths, and resources present at the community. So kumbaga, sa SWOT pa, SW lang, ay strength and opportunities lang, SO lang, walang weakness and threats. Good. 17. A type of research identified with community organizing, of course, participatory action research. Even community organizing, okay? Ang community organizing natin sa Pilipinas, kung maido-document lang sana, kasi kung sa atin naman, sa experience niyo sa undergrad, talagang it is not enough for 5 months na madaanan natin yung whole process ng community organizing, di ba? 5 months, I think ang 5 months will be spent pa lang yan doon sa entry phase, no? Doon sa social investigation and deepening social investigation na phase. No? Gathering data, establishing rapport, identifying core groups, doon pa lang, no? In essence, doon pa lang talaga. But pinapadali tayo ng ating mga professor kasi they want us to experience the whole CO process. And yun nga, sa pagmamadali, hindi na natin alam kung saan na ba tayo sa phase ng CO. But in reality, kung nagpa-practice na kayo ngayon or the future after you get your license, community organizing might entail, might run for about, kung talagang the whole process from building the organization up until termination, most probably it will run for about 4 to 10 years. Ganyan kahaba yung proseso. No? If we want to experience the whole process. Anyway, but yung community organizing naman natin, di ba, we started with barangay profile, we collect the data, and based from that data, we analyze and we try to validate what written in the barangay profile. Ang problema, kapag hindi updated yung barangay profile community profile ng barangay. So yun. So based from that, we validate through general assembly, through purok meetings, ang content ng community profile, and we identify some, together with the community people, we identify some of the problems. Then after, we provide solution and we implement. The whole process, if ma-document lang siya, rigid documentation, kasi we are actually, sa community organizing, we are actually doing research. But then again, ang kulang lang is the rigidity of research that will be put in place. Yun lang yung kulang. But actually, in essence, we are doing research. So ang tawag doon is Participatory Action Research or PAR. 18. It means that the system whereby power and resources are controlled by a very small number will have to be changed so that the creative and productive potentials of the people can be released, because such system only serves to intensify and generate problem of poverty, making it possible for the masses to meet their basic needs and live in dignity. Ayan. The correct answer is structural change. Okay. They're just changing the structure present in the community. Pero pag sinasabi nating reform, it is a structural change pero wider lang ang scope. Wider lang ang scope. For example, yung comprehensive agrarian reform. Kung sinasabi nating comprehensive agrarian reform, they are changing how the landlords own the land, di ba? They are trying to redistribute the land to its tenants. Depende yan sa ilang years na siya nagsiserve. Meron mang ganyang mechanism. Yun. It is a structural change but in a wider context. But if you want to change, for example, in the community, yung elite, you want to mobilize the elite, we want to change the cultural system that makes the oppression possible in that community. Ang tawag lang doon is structural change because limited lang siya doon sa community in-organize mo. Pero pag sinasabi natin revolution, yan, it is the total abolition of existing system that maintains status quo. For example, yung KKK, revolution yun, di ba? Talagang total freedom, total abolition of the foreign colonizer, and we shall pronounce our independence. Yun, revolution yan. Liberal change, gawa-gawa lang yan. Okay. 19. The idea behind the formation and training of core groups in the community is to have an elite group that could handle the situation in the community. Again, the core principle of community organizing is democracy. Pag sinasabi nating democracy, it is ruled by many. It is ruled by majority. So when you form a group that is run by elite, that is not democracy at all. Letter B, formation of partners who can help worker in reaching out other members of the community. Possible siya, but then again, it is too shallow na reason for forming a core group. D, formation of groups to be partners of the barangay officials in solving crimes in the community. Again, community organizing nakadepende siya sa nature of the problems. And it is not only limiting to solving crimes. No? It is more concerned with the social welfare. The correct answer is prepare a group that can later be tapped for the implementation of community project. Yan talaga yung purpose ng core group. That is why kung sa community organizing, hindi maiiwasan magkaroon ng group work as a methodology na integration siya. That makes it generalist. Kasi yung core group na itatap mo, pwede na silang later on, kung na-decide na during General Assembly, na-decide na sila yung magiging official, then so be it. Pero yung core group, this will stand as your technical working group that later on, during plan implementation, they are the leaders who will implement. No? Pwede rin mag-committee yung bawat member ng core group. Nakadepende yan sa pamamalakad. Yeah. 20. The key to success in any community project is, obviously, it is people's active participation. Aanhin mo yung funds, yung clarity of objectives based on your proposal, and the project proposal itself, by the way, it is just a piece of paper. But at the end of the day, what matters most is the people's participation. And that is the essence of community organizing. 21. Wait lang ha. Okay. 21. The process of making people aware of the social conditions affecting their lives. So it is conscientization. No? It was ang sikat na author niyan is si Paulo Freire, no? Yung author ng The Pedagogy of the Oppressed. Conscientization. Conscientization, pinaka-importante yan na element na strategy if the people are experiencing apathy and indifference. Yung walang pakialam kung ano lang ganap sa barangay nila, hindi nakikialam sa mga barangay at saka community activities for the common good. Yun yung basically apathy and indifference. So yun yung biggest hindrance to community organizing because they are not participating enough. Maybe some of the best solution that should be doing by the social worker is conscientization. Okay, 22. One very important task of stimulating, motivating, and assisting people to become active partners in plan change, focusing on the full participation of the people in any effort, decision that will affect their lives. Yes. Good. Ayan. Kitang-kita naman, no? Halata naman, it is mobilizing people. '23. It involves merging the energy of individuals into a whole which provides an opportunity for support, consciousness raising, mutual aid, developing skills and action on behalf of the whole. So, itong konsepto na ito, it is synergy, no? It can be found in the theory of general systems theory. No? Interfacing, digitization, and collectivity. Basically, synergy is yung, other words niyan is yung, you have the same mindset you are one with the community. Yun lang yung ibig sabihin ng synergy. Okay. 24. Ito, I think it is, case study. When Gardo Sausage started as a community in this rice-producing barangay, the landless farmers have been at the mercy of influential moneylenders or usurers for years. Each planting season ito, they would practically beg for loans for finance needed farm inputs. Come harvest time, their income practically goes to these moneylenders, and this vicious cycle results in an endless struggle for survival. However, with the help of the worker, they now see the futility of their farming efforts, learn about the roots of their dependence, realize they have capacities to plan and to find other ways of improving their lives, and so begin to organize themselves. One of the major activities initiated by the group is to demand that the 50 hectares they are tilling to be subjected to agrarian reform, an action that the landlord opposes. Dialogues have started with local agency officials without the landowner who refuses to sit down with them. With more rice farmers demonstrating concern over the training of leaders, they can now organization categorized as, the correct answer is sectoral organization. Yung cause-oriented groups, these are people who are not experiencing the same situation, but they feel empathy towards that marginalized society. Then, for example, yung mga cause-oriented groups, yung nare-red tag ngayon, no? Yung Gabriela, yung Bayan Muna, yung mga ganon. Those were cause-oriented groups. No? They exist for a cause. But here, it is a sectoral organization because they are a sector of farmers that experiences dependency to the landlord and lenders. Political organization, ito yung mga political party natin, no? The PDP, Liberal Party, UNA, ano pa bang basta it has something to do about the unification of their political ideology. Civic organization naman, is pwede siya ma-relate into cause-oriented organization. But civic organization, they form themselves because these are private entities and private people, no? That they form themselves for a cause pa rin. Pero yun nga, private entity sila. Example niyan is yung Lions Club, Eagles Club, yung mga club na yan. No? They exist for a cause pa rin. Okay. 25. But ang difference nila is civic organization comes from private sector. Okay. 25. As an organization formed with a specific objective, the activities of the farmers that can lead to the achievement of the purpose are A. To pressure the landlord to distribute the land among them according to the law. B. To get the most benefit from the government. C. To compel the landowner to have a dialogue with them for more suitable tenurial agreement. D. To enable the farmers to plan the best possible way of increasing their production. So, makikita naman natin, no, that the model that we are trying to use is social action. And if it is social action, kasi ang problema is systematic, no, within the relational oppression between the landlord and the farmers. So, more likely we are using social action. So if our model of community organizing is social action, so we can identify A and C as the most suitable na intervention. Kasi if we try to look at letter B to get the most benefit from the government, again, community organization doesn't work that way, no? Hindi naman nag-exist. We organize para pututan natin yung gobyerno. Hindi ganon. And letter D, to enable farmers to plan for the best possible way of increasing their production, this action is leaning towards locality or community development. So, since social action yung nakikita nating model, therefore, ang nakikita nating intervention is A and C. Okay. 26. What legal basis do the farmers have demanding for the distribution of the 50-hectare land under agrarian reform? It is RA 6657. Ano pala yung RA 6657? Ito, careful din tayo sa ganito ha, kasi even if community organizing na yan, example nito, may kasali pa rin SWPP. Ganyan naman talaga, no? So yung RA 6657 is the CARP, no? Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program. Ano naman yung RA 7279? Ito, napaka-objective. Ito yung mahirap. Kasi even me, I would confess na talagang mahirap sa mga number, nalilito talaga ako. RA 7279, an act providing for comprehensive and continuing urban and development and housing program. So, urban and housing program, ang Republic Act 83, RA 8368. RA 8368 is an act repealing presidential decree entitled Penalizing Squatting and Other Similar Acts. So it is the anti-squatting law. Na-repeal niya yung anti-squatting law of 1997, while PD 772, an act penalizing squatting and other similar act. So yun. So basically, ang 8368, 772 has something to do about illegal squatting, and 7279, yung kanina, and 6657 is the CARP, Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program. 27. Formalization of the farmers' organization involves the following except 1. A, creation. Kita natin yan, no? The correct answer is lobbying of leaders. So pag sinasabi nating lobbying, yung definition kanina, no? The sit together with the legislative committee of the existing political structure in the community to talk about which nangyari naman kanina. Dito naman sa hindi pwedeng magkaroon ng lobbying of leaders kasi lobbying, obviously nagkakaroon ng lobbying if there is an existing organizational structure. Let's say sa farmer, nagkaroon na sila ng position, may president na mga officers. So that officers are morally obliged to represent its constituents to the legislative committee. So ang process na sila na yung umupo doon, that is lobbying, no? Pero hindi siya kasali doon sa pag-form ng farmers organization. Kasi in creating that organization para mayroon ng tao na sa posisyon na yan, magsisimula yan of course doon sa creation of committee. Then, during General Assembly, magkakaroon ng election of officer. Then last, sa election of officer, mayroon dapat oath-taking. So yun, para ma-formalize yung duly elected officers of the organization. Okay. Hindi kasali yung lobbying. 28. With the formation of the organization, the worker can start the creation of communities to handle specific functions. One of the urgent reasons for the creation of communities is the ongoing dialogues to air out their demand for agrarian reform. The nature of these communities are A, permanent, B, temporary, C, quasi-permanent, D, functional, until the project is accomplished. So nakikita natin that the correct answer is C and D. It is temporary, it is quasi-permanent, and D, functional until project is accomplished. Ano ba yung tinitingnan natin? formation of the organization. Kasi ang issue-based kasi yung tinitingnan nila na yung 50-hectare land will be subjected to CARP. And once ma-resolve yun, okay, there is a possibility that the group will cease, the organization will cease to exist. But doesn't mean na mag-exist, mawala na siya just for the fact na na-solve yun. Kasi meron din namang bagong problema. Quasi-permanent. Okay, but it might lead to another problem. Baka meron naman silang problema into the example, paano palakihin yung harvest nila. Irrigation. So it makes it quasi-permanent. And letter D, it is also functional until project is accomplished. Doon sa issue-based ng CARP. It could neither be permanent nor temporary. Okay. So it's between quasi and functional. So the correct answer is C and D. 29. One of the effective intervention that you as the social worker can initiate to counter usurers is A, train them to get loans from banks. Again, itong train them to get loans from banks, mahihirapan tayo dyan for the fact na meron dapat collateral. Yan naman talaga yung sa banks. Capability building, you improve their technical skills, mga ganon. Organize a union among them. Union is only effective when they are working in a private sector. And they can lobby, no? They can lobby for their welfare. But the most effective among the choices is to organize a cooperative. No? They must register it. Then the cooperative will serve as the source of finances. 30. Which of the following intervention could have been used by the social worker in raising the level of consciousness of farmers? So, obviously, it is advocacy. Counseling is not applicable at this time. Obviously, it is community organizing and you are not working on an individual basis. Networking, mas effective ang networking when they need resources for the mobilization of people, especially during social action, no, during social movement. Structure building, hindi pa rin siya effective. Wala naman siya kinalaman doon sa consciousness raising. Advocacy is the correct one. Advocacy might come from isa sa mga example is yun, you hire through seminar, no? Mag-hire ka ng mga lawyers perhaps that is knowledgeable enough, specialized field nila yung agrarian reform. Advocacy ang tawag doon. 31. In situation like above, the most appropriate model of organizing based on the root of the farmer's demand is, yun sabi ko kanina, it is social action. 32. At times, it is best that one model or approach in organizing the farmers may be paired with another to ensure the maximum benefit. Countering usurers through the cooperative while demanding an agrarian reform, the appropriate combination is, nakita niyo naman, community development. Why community development? Why not social planning or organic approach? It's because community development, kung babalikan natin yung definition, process of identifying the community needs. After identifying the community needs, they plan as a community, then they implement. Encountering the usurers to form a cooperative, to form an organization, that is very locality or community development. While yung demanding for agrarian reform, that is social action. So the best option we have, or the only option we have is actually letter B, community development and social action. Okay, 33. The following value assumptions and principles are basis of empowering this group of farmers. So we have 4 statements. A, people in communities want change and they can change. B, they are afraid of unknown results of organizing, hence depend very much of the worker. C, communities are self-determining. D, discontent on the part of the people leads to the formation of an association or organization. Ito, mali ang answer key. Dapat, ang answer dito is A, C, and D. Ako na yung naglalagay ng correction. Yan. The correct answer here should be A, C, and D. Because B, they are afraid of the unknown results. They are afraid of unknown result of organizing, hence depend very much of the worker. Again, I might read to you the assumption, okay? Para maliwanagan talaga. So what are the assumptions of CO? Number one, changes in which individuals, groups, and communities determine their own destiny in democratic process. Number two, readiness to change is a variable which affects the potential and rate of the community change obtainable at a given time. Three, skills in participating in democratic process can be taught and learned by individuals and groups. Fourth, society can provide ways to achieve maximum compatibility of individual and community interest. Social welfare provisions, services, programs can enhance human welfare and prevent and reduce social ills. And last would be planning, coordination, and integration of social welfare provisions are by individuals. Social ills are interrelated and social welfare provisions are interdependent. Nakikita naman natin, no, hindi kasali doon yung afraid of the unknown will result to dependency type of relationship between the community towards the worker. So the correct answer is A, C, and D. 34. The use of dialogue between two opposing parties in a controversy, like agrarian dispute, has the possibility that this may not succeed, in which case the farmer may still continue their struggle through the use of the following tactics: negotiation, brokerage, mild coercion, and arbitration. These are all tactics that can be used. Negotiation, if yun, merong compromise na nangyayari. Brokerage naman, yung walang compromise na nangyayari. They may seek the help of the Department of Agrarian Reform. Mild coercion, ito yung aggressive na type of tawag nito, strategy, no? Example niyan is yung mayroong part sa lupa na hindi nila i-farm as of the moment because of what's happening, no? So possible na ma-identify siya as mild coercion, no? Yung boycott. Arbitration naman is yung term na arbitration is the community and the landlord decided to give the authority to somebody to decide the matter being. So for example, they have this agreement na depende sa madesisyonan ng korte. So si korte ngayon yung magbibigay ng final decision, and that decision is final and should be arbitration. So A, B, C, and D are the tactics that can be pursued to their struggle. 35. The social work organization of farmers can do much in stimulating wide interest and participation of farmers in community affairs, improving power base, fostering collaborative attitudes and practices, as well as increasing indigenous leadership. These activities fall under what goal of community organization? Yan. Obviously, it is task goal, no? Has something to do about the accomplishment of their end. Improving power base, fostering collaborative. It has something to do about activities, and this is aligned to task goal. Process goal naman, yun yung participation. Relationship goal naman is yung sa harmonious relationship with the members of the community. 36. During the lull session, the farmers would resort to nearby lake to fish as an alternative source of income. However, their difficulty is often caused by typhoons and gradual silting of the lake because of pollution. The issue of pollution was tackled at the barangay council, but no further action had been done. The following are the causes of pollution in the lake. A. Wanton disposal of waste by people living near the lake. B. Lack of proper waste management system adopted by the barangay. C. Apathy of the people. D. Lack of political will on the part of LGU to stop housing project near the lake. So, lahat ng yan causes the pollution for the farmer to have an alternative income. 37. Farmer fisher folk can still use the lake as a source of income, but they have to do something about pollution. The following actions may be resorted to. A. Lake cleanup. B. Coordination with appropriate agency for more sustainable waste management. C. Fishing technology. D. Coastal resource management. Obviously, hindi kasali yung fishing technology sa ating option because fishing technology has something to do about harvest, but we are trying to address the problem of pollution. Not unless it is pollution technology or mga technology that would really, for example, yung creation ng, ano nga yung charcoal bowl ba yan? Kalimutan ko what was the term na ginamit ng scientist doon. Para siyang mud na bilog, tsaka every now and then nilalagay lang sa mga ilog, tsaka ina-absorb niya yung durak ba yun in Tagalog? Yung maitim na ano sa ilog sa kanal, yun ina-absorb niya hanggang ma-clear yung water. Yun yung isang, I forgot what was the name of that invention. Okay, anyway, so the correct answer is A, B, and D. 38. The farmer fisher folk is one group whose rights are often violated. As a social worker, the important role to enable them to get to the optimum benefits from society owing their constitutional right is, ito medyo tricky ito kasi almost the same yung option, no? Dalawang option dyan. Direct provider, hindi pwede. Actually, direct provider is just to mitigate the existing problem, no? Ano lang, superficial lang siya. Social actionist, para dancerist, singerist, ewan ko ba bakit may ganyang term. Hindi rin, walang term na social actionist, ha? Advocate and enabler are the two rallying point, no? Enabler yung tamang sagot, no? You have to enable them. Pag sinasabi nating enable, you are empowering them, no? You are guiding the whole process in attaining their constitutional right. Pag sinasabi nating advocate, you are only limiting to the consciousness raising about their situation. Advocacy. You make the society aware of their situation. But you are not, yun lang kuto. Limited lang doon sa making the society aware of their situation. But actually, kapag enabler, kasali na dyan yung advocate. Mas specific lang siya. Okay. 39. Type of community within ecclesiastical or civil territory is geographical. Basically, may dalawa lang mang community tayo, no? Geographical, may territory, such as purok, barangay, yan. And functional. Hindi necessary na they belong to the same geographical area. So as long they share the common purpose and share common interest, they make it as a functional community. Isa dyan yung LGBT. 40. A technique where information is gathered from representative sample of community residents about issues affecting their well-being. So, meron tayong different forms of data gathering in community organizing. Ito daw na technique is gathering an information from representative sample. So, for example, may women, may elderly, may ganun. Ang tawag doon is focus group discussion. Kung discussion siya. But we are since we are gathering data, pwede rin maiba na pangalanan siya as focus group interview. Yung KII naman, or Key Informant Interview, or Key Information Approach, ito yung individual, no? You are interviewing individually yung different leaders at different time. Okay. Community forum, usually done during, ang community forum naman is, you invited the public to express their concern about a specific problem. Yun, forum yun. Community attitude survey approach, you are using standardized form. Yun yung checklist. So yun, isa din siya. 41. When people begin to share their grievances, which of the following conditions that increase participation in social action has occurred? The correct answer is intensification of dissent. Kasi in increasing participation in social action, these 4 options, ito yung pwede nating ma-apply para ma-increase yung participation. Recruiting members. Members that are, ano bang characteristic na tinitingnan natin? Members that experiences the same problem. Conducting meetings for you to have a logical approach on the social problem, and for you to have a committee, okay? Committee that will manage different concerns, different specialized concerns. Identify mediation is what would be a rallying point na masasabi natin enough is enough, then we will proceed with the agreement. Yan. And intensification of dissent, ito yun. They share the grievances. It is one of the indicators that the force has been intensified. 42. Social planning involves this important element. Correct answer is multi-sectoral planning. Participation of Participation of key players, use of volunteers, and resource mobilization. Ito yung element ng locality or community development. 43. Barangay Santiangco is a village in one of the northeastern province of Luzon. Results of data gathering reveal that men perceived dominant, including those considered violent, behavior as indicator of being macho. This perception inevitably leads to domestic violence that includes wife battering and verbal abuse. The Barangay Council invited you to attend a General Assembly to discuss the problem. As a social worker assigned in the community, your objective in attending the assembly is, nakikita natin, is to raise the level of consciousness of the community on the problem. Kung letter B, C, D, let's look at letter B. Confront the Barangay Council on its duty to recommend sanction to abuser. When you General Assembly yung nangyayari, not unless it is a legislative meeting. Hindi naman ganon. Letter C, assist victims in filing complaint with the police authority. Itong assist victims, possible siya, but on the other platform. May it be sa barangay, may ring report na rescue. Ganon. But ang context dito is during assembly, General Assembly. And D, organize women to protect themselves against further abuse. Ito na yung further intervention mo kapag once you raise the level of consciousness. Kasi nga, it is seated within the culture of machism. So you make the people aware of this cultural manifestation of violence. Okay, 44. Domestic violence includes the following violations. A, wife battering. B, infidelity committed by one spouse. C, sexual abuse against the child of a live-in partner. D, verbal abuse by one spouse against the other. So all of these are included in domestic violence as dictated by the law. 45. Barangay is one of the 5 pillars of justice or judicial system. As such, very workers should learn to appreciate working with it. Cases are brought before itlupon ng kapayapaan primarily for the following purposes. The purpose or purposes. So ano ba yung purpose ng lupon ng kapayapaan? It is for amicable settlement between parties. But remember, pag sinasabi nating child abuse, no? Hindi sa subject for amicable settlement, ha? Especially rape, walang amicable settlement. It should not be discussed in the barangay. The barangay has no right for amicable settlement in case of child abuse. Yun yung pinaka-importanteng i-remember natin. Okay, 46. Women's rights, basically, ano ba yan? Grammatical error. Women's rights are basically human rights. The women victims in this barangay may be considered abuse in terms of, the correct answer is C, the right to life, liberty, security of person. Freedom of opinion and expression, hindi naman siya related. Freedom of opinion and expression, example niyan is you express through social media. As long as it is not libelous in its nature, then dapat hindi siya magiging basis na ipa-summon ka sa barangay. Right to join associations, hindi naman siya related doon sa case, no, sa domestic violence. And right to freedom of thought and religion, masyado na din siyang malayo. But the related na right, nasa Bill of Rights associated with domestic violence is letter C. 47. Violence against women is perpetuated in view of the following reasons. A, the culture of silence has kept women mum about their situation. B, women in the Philippine society were not respected. C, traditionally women are considered themselves inferior sex. D, women are weak when they have no capacity to protect themselves. So nakikita natin that the correct answer is letter B, A, C, D. In our country, women in the Philippine society were respected, no? Lahat respetado naman. But ang tinutukoy dito is the violence against women is commonly perpetuated because of A, C, and D. For the fact na sa Philippines, mas maraming CEO na babae kaysa lalaki. When it comes to Gender Development Index, ay kasali tayo sa top 15 all over the world. Yan. Because of our effort to reduce inequalities between gender. Okay. Number 48. Community organization is defined as a sustained process of what? 1. Educating the people to develop critical consciousness of their existing conditions. 2. Working with people to work collectively and efficiently towards meeting immediate and long-term goals. 3. Mobilizing people to develop their capability and readiness to respond and to take actions on their immediate and long-term needs and problems. 4. Forming an organization as means to respond to their problem. So, obviously, apparently, kita natin that all of these are part of the community organization in its effort to sustain the process. Okay, 49. Almost half na lang tayo. This principle, CO recognizes people's inherent desire to change their conditions to grow and develop. So we're talking about the principle of community organizing. So, ano ba yung mga principles? Let me just read to you the existing principles. Okay. We have 13 principles. All right. First is trust in the people. Second, start where the people are. Third, the responsibility to direct change lies with the people and not with the practitioner. 4, avoid raising expectations and false hope of the people. Ito, ang CO kasi maraming principles. No? Although, makikita naman natin na magagamit yung generic principles ni Telma Lee Yung kang casework naman, specific Felix by Steck yun, na inadapt, na ginawa na ring generic principle ni Talmali. Yung group work naman, nandun kay Miklat, yung I think 9, if I'm not mistaken, 9 principles yun. And CO has 13 principles. Fourth principle is avoid raising expectations and false hope. Fifth is critical active participation of the people. People participation should be geared towards the promotion of the best interest of the majority. So, makikita natin yung democracy yan. Yan. Next is organizing work is bias for the poor. Next is community organizing is not an end itself, but a means to an end. So, ibig sabihin, kapag we organize, meron tayong purpose. The moment that yung organization kasi, kapag na-organize lang, ibig sabihin that is not our goal. We organize them for a specific purpose. Yun yung ibig sabihin. CO is rooted in the local indigenous leadership. Next is, its energy or driving force is generated by self-interest of the local residents for the welfare of their children and themselves. So nakikita natin that it stems from the need to organize. Hindi mas malaki yung chance ng success ng community organizing kung nagmumula mismo sa kanila, not from the outsider, such as social worker. It is a program arising out from local people, carrying out with direct participation of particular area. Next is it recognizes the democratic society is one which responds to a popular pressure and therefore realistically operates on the basis of pressure. Second to the last, it concentrates on the utilization of indigenous individuals who, if not leaders at the beginning, can be developed into leaders. And finally, it moves toward the goal of self-financing or self-sufficiency. So yun yung different principles. And the correct answer here is trust in the people. Next, 15. Community integration is 1, process of imbibing community life. 2, a method of raising people's awareness. Itong number 2, it is not community integration, di ba? It is conscientization. Number 3, an approach of bringing people together. An approach of bringing people together is general assembly or community assembly. 4, a process of clarifying, explaining program objectives, especially to key people. Again, it is not community integration. Community integration is actually imbibing the community life. Or mas kilala siya sa term na community immersion. 51. The following is not identified as community organizer. Of course, si Robert Winter. Group worker kasi siya. Saul Alensky, Paulo Freire, and Maury Ross are community organizers. Si Paulo Freire is coming from South America. From Brazil. 2. The origin of CO as a method can be traced to the influence of this organization. It is the Charity Organization Society, or the cause. It was the cause who determined that social ill such as poverty is not a personal character defect. Instead, they identified poverty as a structural problem that needs structural reformation. So doon nagsimula yung critical social work perspective through community organizing influenced by the cause. Therefore, community organization society or cause is the forerunner of CO in the international setting. 53. When company has been organized into union, the terms and conditions of employment, wages, hours, holidays, pensions, medical benefits, insurance are determined in negotiation between the union and the empower and are set down in a formal contract. So what is the term being asked? The correct answer is conflict resolution. Terms of reference, negotiation, collective bargaining purposes of the union. Ito hindi ito hindi masyadong, I'm not satisfied with the key answer. I think the correct answer for this is terms of reference. Kasi lahat naman ng wages, hours, holidays, pensions, medical benefits, insurances are determined by the existing policy of the government. Therefore, terms of reference should be followed by the employees na nakasulat sa formal contract. I think the correct answer for here is term of reference, not conflict resolution. It could not be negotiated because it is statutory. No? You get what I mean? So, hindi siya pwedeng ma-negotiate because it is obliged to be provided by the employer. Okay. 54. A learning process that enables individual and organization to generate and apply strategies designed to accomplish individual and or institutional objectives. So it is a learning process. So wala namang social learning is a theory, right? May bandura, so hindi siya kasali. Organizational, and we are talking about the phases of community organizing. So saan dito sa option that would enable us to learn and generate, apply strategies designed to accomplish individual and institutional objectives. So basically, you capacitate the core group or leaders. So that is capacity development and capacity building. 55. Consists of various methods of intervention whereby a professional change agent helps a community action system composed of individuals, groups, organizations to engage in a planned collective action in order to deal with the social problems within the democratic system of values. It is community organizing. Sino nag-define ito? Yung sa author ng mga nabanggit ko kanina, sino yung nag-define that CO daw is a method of intervention? Pag sinasabi nating method, si Kramer and Speck. Yon. Hala. Natulog na siguro sila. 56. Bilisan lang natin ha, baka tulog na yung iba. 56. Based on the assumption of consensus or common base of values and interests among the parties in this agreement, and those agreements can be obtained by overcoming poor communication, misinformation, and inaction is called collaborative strategy. Collaborative strategy is effective when you are working with various organizations with the same cause that you are trying to advocate for. Para maisahan, no? Poor communication, misinformation, and inaction calls for collaborative strategy. Consensus building is not applicable in this kasi wala namang decision making. Decision building, hindi rin pwede. Memo of agreement is memo of agreement, possible siya na mangyari, but memo of agreement is one of the strategy of collaborative is one of the techniques in collaborative strategy para may written document. Okay. 57. Interest group attend committee meetings of legislative bodies. I think tapos na ito kanina, di ba? Pag yung interest group attend a legislative body or legislative hearing or session, this is what we call lobbying. No? We lobby our concern to the right group who are able to create or craft policies. 58. This is a group of people who maintain an enduring social exchange network based on we feeling arising from their commitment both to a belief system or to a value system or to an ideology reinforced by celebration of cultic devices and to the expressive community. Ito yung tinatawag nating symbolic community. No? They become a symbol. Affective community naman when it comes of warmth and relationship present. Intentional community, this type of community, group of people form because there is a task to be done or there is a purpose to be achieved. Spatial community naman exists because they live on the same geographic location. Spatial community can be categorized as geographical community. Okay. 59. Community naman ang tawag dito sa individuals and families to make a total commitment to rationalize an abstract value system or to believe withdrawing from a society in some form and defining its social boundaries clearly. So there was an intention. For example, families are formed because their intention was to set boundaries rest from the society. And it also ito kasi na definition, it's not absolute. Meron ding ibang definition na intentional community are formed because they want to set their identity. Okay. 60. If the practitioner's role in social action model is likely incorporate in the advocate and activist roles, social planning is. Correct answer is more technical and expert roles are emphasized. Kasi multi-sectoral naman yung ginagamit, di ba? So pag multi-sectoral, it calls for technical knowledge and skills to craft the plan for the benefit of the total community. Serve as an enabler or encourager, ito mas nakilala ito sa locality development. Act as a therapist, ito naman is casework. D, all are possible answer, it is incorrect to assume. No? Kasi social planning is more on with technical or expertise of the planning bodies. 61. Refers to irrelevant or defective social policies and community decision making process which needs to be changed or modified. So sa community organizing, we have two types of problem. No? Institutional problem and residual problem. Pag sinasabi natin institutional problem, basically this has something to do about the policies being deficient. Source of problem. And pag sinasabi naman natin residual problem, ito yung mga problema na lumalabas if there is a temporary breakdown in an institution. For example, yung residual problem, yung kawalan ng trabaho ngayon. Because economic institutions are limited due to community quarantines. Because dahil na rin sa COVID-19 pandemic. And because of unemployment right now, yung mga nawalan, nalugi, are residual problems. Therefore, it requires residual solution. One of the solution is, the social amelioration program. Okay. 62. Based on the viewpoints of social work profession, it is the process of releasing the potentials of people through appropriate programs and services and strategies by removing blocks to their growth and development and accessing them for the enhancement of their highest capacities. So, ang tinutukoy dito is people empowerment. People advocacy, consciousness raising. People's growth and development, the realization of their aspiration. But when we say people empowerment, you cannot empower without first removing the blocks to their growth, and after that, provide them the opportunity to access an enhancement of their highest potential or capacity. So that is people empowerment. 63. Community organizing's lifeblood is people's participation. Ito yung bumubuhay ng CO. Kahit gaano pa ka-expert, kahit gaano pa ka-experiensyado si CO worker, kung walang participation, kahit gaano pa karami yung funds, kahit million pa yan na project, without people's participation, all of the efforts of the social worker will go in vain. 64. An element of CO process which brings together the community people and the community development worker in a helping process. So what is it? No? Na dahilan that community people, community development workers as a social worker comes into one place. It is due to problem. 65. Stage of CO process in which establishing a friendly yet purposeful relationship starts. A low profile is preferably than a grand one that probably raises unnecessary or false expectations from people. Ito yung sa stage ng entry to the community. Hindi naman kapag you are going in the community, you don't need grand opening or ano pa ba yan, grand entrance because it might raise false hope or false expectation. Low-key lang. First, pay a courtesy visit with the existing leaders, then introduce yourself. Upon, it might be during any gatherings that involves mass number of people. 66. This community organization approach is used to develop capacity of the people to plan, solve problems, and make decisions by working through smallest unit of a political structure is called paranganic approach. Yan, yun kanina. Sino ang proponent? 67. Sino ang proponent ng social action? It was Saul Alinsky. Ano naman kayong ka-Arthur Dunham? Hi guys. Sinong proponent ng community development or locality development? If you can still remember. Sige, para hindi kayo matulog.
One, Sir Jack Ruthman.
How about social planning?
Dili mo, Joe.
Tama yun.
Siya man ata sa tulo, sir. Ay, lahi di ay.
No, hindi. Social planning, it could be a person or an entity. Pili ka lang. Social planning, walang specific person, right? It was an entity, organization. It was introduced by the United Nations. It was entity that introduced social planning. Okay. Ngayon, anong number na tayo? 68. It is essence in the dearth of resources. Refers to the clash between contradictory impulses or two or more incompatible motives. This is competition. Even in community organizing, meron ding social process. No? Ito yung primary social process. Competition, conflict, operation, yung 3C. Ang competition, yun nga, sabi natin sa group work kanina, the same. Group process and social process is the same. Ang pinagkaiba lang nila is yung sa scope. Group process, of course, sa grupo lang. Social process is the society in general. No? Then after that, we have a derived social process, amalgamation, acculturation, yung ano pa ba yun? Amalgamation, acculturation, assimilation, and kalimutan ko yung isang A. Accommodation. Yun. So, it was derived from the 3C. Yung competition results from the incompatible motive or goal. Yung conflict naman is yun. Ang focus niya is towards the opponent. And cooperation is much healthier siya na form of social process. So, ang hinahanap natin dito, it is competition. Okay, 69. BCPC or Barangay Council for the Protection of Children is a group organized for child surveillance. It represents a community structure, people organization, community structure. No? Every barangay, as by the virtue of the anti-child abuse law, should have this community structure present because any concern related to, for example, child abuse, child maltreatment, si BCPC ngayon yung mag-handle ng issue na yan. And there should be a budget for that, no, sa BCPC. No, kung sa inyong barangay, i-assess nyo kung meron bang BCPC o kung meron, functional ba. So it is a community structure. People's organization, it is not people's organization because the initiative is not coming from the people themselves. It is coming from a law that requires the barangay structure to put this specific structure for the children. It is not also a community organization. It is not also a pressure group. Rather, it is a community structure. 70. Duly elected representatives of the marginalized groups in the Philippines Congress are called party list representatives. Yan. Sino sa inyo dito ang agree na i-abolish yung party list system?
Ako, sir. Para two-way na
Marami
lang,
sa
para
inyo.
matulad sa US.
Yan. Anyway, but marami din namang naidulot ng positive yung mga party list system. Example, yung SSS at saka yung SSS, yung minimum wage. Usually these are the efforts passed by the Congress through the effort of the party list system. May pros and cons din naman. Anyway, that is personal view. But what is being asked is duly elected. How many votes does a party list need in order to be recognized to have a seat in the Congress? Alam niyo ba? Ilang votes? Kasi hindi naman per rank yung party list system, di ba? Isa lang yung iboboto natin sa among napakaraming list ng party list. Ilang votes?
61 party list tayo, sir, eh. At least 2% po ang alam ko pag sa national vote.
I think 300,000 yung pagkakaalala ko. Wait lang, i-google natin. National requirement for party list in page. Yun. Tama yan. Party list representatives are directly elected via party list election wherein the voter votes for the party and not for the party's nominees. The votes are then arranged in descending order with the parties that won at least. Yun pala. Sakto yung 2%. I thought it was 300,000 vote. At least, makakuha sila ng 2% of the national vote. Then, automatically, they can have a seat in the Congress. 71. During the worker's initial entry to the community, the organizer needs to SOP natin yan, to pay courtesy call to barangay captain. Kasi ang consequence, kapag hindi ka nag-courtesy call, later on, the barangay captain might not support whatever initiatives that you're trying to make within the community. Kasi we give due respect to the duly elected official. And even with informal leaders, no? Kasi alam naman natin, within the community, meron din informal leaders that has the same, no? Almost the same power with the elected officers. Pwede rin doon. 22. An effective strategy for lack of manpower and resource is use of volunteer. Applicable ito sa CO but not in group work. 73. A strategy for fast-track learning designed for indigenous leaders training for community development and leadership roles. Ito, I am doubtful with this option. Wait lang, palitan natin. Okay. So, designed for indigenous leaders training for community development and leadership role. Ito kasing use of field trip. Ang use of field trip, ginagamit ito na strategy when wait lang, hinahanap ko pa. Wala. Wait lang ha. Para maklaro talaga kasi I am doubtful with the option given. With the answer key. Use of field trips, a tip to model community where the trainees learn how to model community administered and managed through people's participation. So kumbaga, ito yung tinatawag, mas kilala ito sa government as, tawag nito, mas kilala ito sa government as benchmarking. Yan. So, alam niyo ba yung benchmarking? Yung benchmarking as a strategy?
Mag-ano, sir, ka na.
Yung benchmarking as a performance.
Yung benchmarking as a strategy in governmental institution. For example, I am an LGU. Now, in our we have the same problem in terms of local insurgency. For example, mga NPA. Tapos nakakadisturbo na sila sa business boom ng sa local business ng aming local government. And I want to address the problem with local insurgency through provision of social welfare programs and services. Now, there is an existing program in the locality, for example, in Cavite. So I want to know more about how they implement this program, and I want to copy their program and might change later on some of the aspect of the program na nakabase na doon sa experience ng aking community. So yun yung benchmarking. And also, some private sectors are also using that. So tama pala itong use of field trips because from the definition itself, a trip model community where the trainees learn how the model community administered and managed through people's participation. Okay, so the correct answer, considered as correct answer is yung use of field trips. 24. Planning. Naririnig niyo yung video kesa? Naririnig niyo? Okay. Okay, 74. Planning of solutions or treatment planning has these following components. So ano ba yung component ng planning for solution? Kikita natin dyan na objective setting, contract setting, formulation of success indicators. 3. System analysis, resource analysis, and task analysis are components of the assessment part. Plan, logistics, main stakeholders are integrated also in the planning. However, it is not on the providing solution or treatment planning. Plan, logistics, and main stakeholders, ito na yung doon sa you identify who are the resources to be tapped and who are the restraining stakeholders that might hinder our implementation later on. Plan, logistics, setting, and contracting is also part of the planning, but the best option that we have is, ang focus talaga ng planning is to set an objective, you ensure that the commitment of the responsible person included in the plan are tawag nito, talaga maipatutupad, and last is the formulation of success indicators. Ang success indicator should be determined during planning, not during the implementation. Because that would be, yun yung problema ng 4Ps, di ba? Na-discuss natin sa Philippine Social Realities. Yung 4Ps na institutionalized without a national evaluation as to the effectiveness of the program. Kasi at the first place, the creation of the 4Ps, the indicators of the long-term program was not supplied at the very beginning or was not created. Every year, nagkakaroon sila ng nag-iiba yung indicators. So, hindi talaga all throughout the 4Ps from its conception up until na wala yung 4Ps as a program na institutionalized na, hindi tayo na magkakaroon ng solid na database as to the effectiveness and efficiency of the program. Because walang success indicators na simulan. Nag-iiba. 75. When disadvantaged sectors such as the urban poor, tenant farmers, marginal fisher folks, etc. band together and organize, their groups is called, ano yun? It is called people's organization. Example niyan is yung samahan ng maralita ng barangay, for example. 76, organizing evacuees in evacuation centers for self-management. Masikat ito during mga DRRM na mga interventive roles natin. Ito yung capability building. Self-management doon sa evacuation center. Disaster preparedness, ginawa ito prior. No? Yun itong mga advocacy natin. Self-determination is a principle. Self-reliance is the purpose of community organizing. 77. Protest against oil price hike is an example of ito. Hindi ito sa version ha. It can be categorized as social disturbance, but it results from unwanted na social phenomenon. Social action strategy siya. No? There was a protest. Protest may be in a form of, for example, may isang group naglabas ng statement, we protest against price blah blah blah. Yan. Protest may also take in a form of rally, yung sa street parliamentary, tawag natin. It is not also social diversion. Wala namang divide because of price hike. 78. Concerned with meeting specific needs and accomplishing concrete objectives. So, it is task goal. I think nabalik na ito. Basta, pag CO talaga, tas 3 goals. Task goal, relationship goal, and process goal. Task goal, ibig sabihin doon lang sa specific activity na towards the accomplishment of purpose, goal, or objective. 79. An indicator of successful community organizing is a well-accepted organizer. Hindi siya indicator na magiging successful na siya. Maybe siguro makikita natin na it is an early indicator but not as an indicator per se. Letter C, increasing number of leaders. Possible siya, successful livelihood, but pag sinasabi natin increased integration of community life, ito na yung sa community immersion. No? You know the ways and means, how the people live, the culture within the community, then based from that understanding of the community dynamics, then you have a deeper understanding that you might be able to provide a solution based on your experience within the community. That is why community immersion is a must. Sa academe ngayon, ito yung challenge kasi mahihirapan mag-community immersion, especially in the context of pandemic and community restrictions, di ba? So hindi talaga is expected na maraming mababagsak sa board exam next year at saka 2022. Bababa yung rating because yung internship is limited yung kanilang experience in applying theories and concepts they learned in the classroom. Okay. Number 80. Translating social goals into programs and services is what approach? It is social planning. Social planning usually it can be associated with a top-down approach, no? Kasi expert yung nagpaplano with the participation. In order for the national government to translate its programs and services, the locality should provide a plan. Now, it's up to they meet halfway, then it's up to the governing, the affirming body or the approving body if that plan will be budgeted or not. Okay. Social planning ang tawag roon. Kaya nga, sa mga barangay, by October pa lang, kinakailangan yung kanilang annual budget is naipasa na. Kasi yung annual budget naman, kasali na doon yung yung different sectors, no? Plan for different sectors. Para ma-release sila pag na-approve na yung General JAA every year or General Appropriations Act by January, meron na silang budget. Hindi delay. 81. In practice, it is an interwoven in various terms with negotiation and procedural social action as part of overall promotional strategy of the group. Bakit nasali ang group dito? Anyway, let's skip this one. But the correct answer for here is direct action. Kasi nga, negotiation, procedural and social action, it involves face-to-face interaction. So, direct action ang tawag dyan in part of promoting the welfare of the group. 82. In making representative with the municipal council to modify an ordinance that is advantageous to the majority of the social workers' client is what we call advocacy. Paternalism, paternalism is one of the problem in community organizing whereby people adheres to a certain pattern that makes them, stay in their statuses. Politicking, hindi naman siya politicking because we are not using the politics for our own benefits. Personal intervention, we cannot really claim that it is our intervention for the welfare of the client, but actually it is embedded in our work. Now, 83. It refers to the basic continuing efforts. Ito naman, hindi ko na tanong ano yung ibig sabihin ng CDW. Community Development Worker. Ano ba yan? It refers to the basic continuing efforts by which the community development worker becomes one with the community people by integrating him or herself in the community life. Immersion with people. Tama yun kanina. So yun nga, community development worker. Isang point rin, no? Not all community development workers are social worker. Please take note of this, ha? Not all community development workers are social worker. May iba, di ba may course na BS in community development? So ito yung alternative ni social work. Pero ang problema lang sa BS in community development, walang board exam. Pero ang kanilang focus is community development. Sa atin naman, ang social work is community organizing. May pinagkaiba yung dalawa, ha? We organize because there is a call for development of the community. Sa kanila is community development, they may be include in tawag nito. Some of their subjects are yung urban planning, ano pa ba? Yung project development, yun. Mas expert sila sa ganung mga bagay. Basta may kinalaman sa community development. Sa atin, method lang yung community organizing. 84. A CO technique which involves the breaking up of a problem situation or collection of data, exploring the content and examining its setting of the various aspects, issues, and relationship. It is situational analysis. Yung structuring na tinatawag na technique natin, you group together the same themes. No? You group together the same concern. For example, water, pollution, environmental. So, pwede na siya isahin sa environmental issue. Ito naman sa needs. Ito naman sa crisis because they utter the same word but ang punto lang nila is mabigyan sila ng temporary assistance. So, yun yung structuring. You group together the same themes or concern. Situational analysis, ito yon. Data gathering is an action for you to make an assessment. And problem analysis, you might use different tool. Okay? Problem analysis kasi as a technique, you tend to know the root cause of the problem and other related problems. Situational analysis is the context of the problem. Okay? So yun, klaro yun. 85. A CO worker function is to initiate, develop new programs, services, and modify or terminate social welfare program services that had become irrelevant. This is what we call program development. Program management is upon the implementation. Program development is from the beginning, initiate, develop, and modify or terminate. So the whole process is development. Management is the actual implementation. No? Program termination, yun nasa last, and program evaluator is before you can even modify or terminate, it must undergo some evaluation. Given that there is a clear purpose, objectives, and indicators, or objectively verifiable indicators and means of verification for every objectives or projects. 86. A method popularized by Paulo Freire. It is action, reflection, action. Dito nagsimula yung idea ng conscientization. So ang mga student ni Paulo Freire are adults, mga factory worker, mga farmers, mga marginalized sector. 87. Refer to individuals in the community who may be the more informed person which facilitate organizers' entry into the community. These are indigenous leaders or also known as informal leaders. Ibig sabihin na indigenous yung IP na indigenous people. Ibig sabihin, indigenous leaders, local leader. Local leader. 88. A traditional approach in development in which the formulation of policies and program is done by an outside group considered expert. So ito yung top-down. And top-down was top-down yung ginagamit ng basic needs approach. But it was debunked during the 70s na na-introduce ng mga NGO workers yung participatory development. 89. An organizing which involves introducing project to be managed by the people for community self-reliance. This is what we call project-based organizing. So you organize people based from an existing services of an institution or agency. So andun sila na-organize because there's a need for a project to run, no? in the community. There is a need for an organization there's a need for organization in order for the project to run in the community. Issue-based naman yung kanina, yung mga farmer na kinakailangan i-convert yung 50 hectare nila. Yan. Issue-based yung tawag. Program-based and project-based is the same. No? The same lang po yan sila. So it can be either of the two. 90. Yan, 10 more to go. Sana wala pang natutulog. 90. A stage towards empowerment in which confers on developing skills to bring back to the people their confidence in themselves. Capability building. 91. Perlman and Gurin found one common element in the practice of CO. This is, keyword in defining CO, Perlman and Gurin. Ito, I bet, no, yung definition ng CO and sino yung proponent ng definition na yan, lalabas yan. I would risk my life kung hindi yan lalabas, no? I would bet my life for that. Kasi ilang years na yan, no? Narinig na namin yan sa mga batch namin ahead, and even us, no, naka-experience yung sinong nag-define at saka ano yung kanyang definition as to what is CO is all about. So, please review your notes in your books. 92. One of the effective strategies that was practiced by the Zoto was socialization, meetings, workshop, seminars, survey of needs, and shared leadership. Naging effective yung Zoto because of shared leadership. As you may know, yung history ng Zoto, yan kasi yan during the time of martial law. Pinapalaya sila kasi sa Tondo area, dun sila sa malapit sa talagang sa dagat na sila, no? Seaside sila. And because sa seaside sila, there was an initiative by business people na palayasin yung informal settler na yon para gawing tawag nito, yung ano nga yan, yung pier ng kanilang lugar. But naging effective yung Zoto because of the help of different sectors, and at the same time, they share the leadership, no? Kumbaga, ang ginamit nila is yung functional leadership theory. So, yun yung remarkable na ano. And even until now, yung Zoto is still existing, and meron na silang different office, ay tawag nito, mga satellite. Pero I think iba na yung pangalan. I'm not sure with the name. 93, according to the Arthur Dunham, ito, CO is a matching needs and resources. 94, this strategy employs educating, persuading, pressuring, and recalcitrant into agreeing with the group's proposed solution or approach to a major issue or problem in the community. It is campaign. Collaborative, when there is with different organization, nangyayari yan. You contest when there is a questionable provision in a certain advocacy, no? Yan, you try to contest. Structuring naman is a technique na ginagamit mo if you want to share, you group together the same common concern of the people. 95, if there is an operational breakdown of the producing system or the consuming public, this breakdown result in the gaps in services and lack of resources. We call this problem as, yun, sabi ko, kabaliktaran ng institutional is the residual. When there's a breakdown in the system, kagaya ng ngayon, unemployment, tawag dyan ay residual. 96. Zoto is the first people's organization in the Philippines had used social action ni Alansky. Paulo Freire, yun yung conscientization. Alansky naman is yung social action. 97. The main goal of community organization is to empower. Alam naman natin yan, no? Self-sufficiency. 98. The worker's proficiency or ability to accomplish something and is concerned primarily with doing rather than with either knowing or feeling is a skill. Pag sinasabi natin proficiency or ability, skill. Pag sinasabi natin approach, nakadepende on what model do we use. Technique also follows within that approach. And tool are the different mechanism just to make our job easier and logical. 99. Most common and most practical methods of data gathering. So among the different option, ang pinaka-best talaga is ito. Record, analysis, observation in the community meetings, and collateral information because it has a lesser effort and you provide lesser energy to collect data. Itong attending social and political meeting, usually ang nakukuha mo lang dito is chismis lang. No? Drinking sessions with people in the community and hindi siya tawag nito. Hindi siya usual. Rare siya. Magamit mo ito when you are in community immersion. Last item. It was created by President Ramon Magsaysay in 1956, which implemented the UN concept of community development in the Philippines. It was the PACD, or Presidential Assistance on Community Development. And it was the forerunner of community or locality development. Okay. Do you have questions? Clarification, point of clarification. Overloaded? Ano ba yung next session ninyo? Schedule. Processing pa rin? Guys, tulog na ata kayo. Processing pa rin?
Not sure, sir.
Okay, wala pang nilabas na schedule. Pero kailan yung final coaching niyo, di ba?
February 1 to 5.
May schedule na?
1 to 5.
February 1 to 3.
Dapat i-encourage niyo yung mga participants ay mga co-reviewees ninyo. Kasi yung final coaching talaga, comprehensive yan. And
dami ko po kasi kilala nag-back out, sir.
Alam nyo,
board daw yung iba.
Sobrang swerte nyo bakit kayo nag-take ng February. Kasi mas malaki yung chance nyo na mag-top notcher. Kasi konti lang yung taker.
Tanaw.
Promise, konti lang yung taker. Pues,
Opo,
most of
sir.
the...
Nag-ano po kami.
Sige, go on. Most of
Sige,
the...
sir. Sige. Di kasi po, sir,
Oo,
nag-apply
okay.
po ako. Nang nag-apply po ako, yung nandun po sa number ko po, pang 1,000 plus pa lang po ako.
So, you have... malaki yung chance mo to become a top notcher. Actually. So, yun yung advantage. And of course, pag naging top notcher ka, mas yung job opportunity, no? Ma-open yung malaking chance, no? Ma-employed ka of what you are really passionate about. So, yun yung advantage. And at the same time, kung hindi paparlarin, hopefully, wala yan sa isipan nyo, no? Na nag-take kayo ng February para the more chance na kung hindi papalarin, may August pa. Dapat hindi ganun yung mindset. Although, naging advantage din siya kasi mayroon pang August na board exam. Pero yun nga, isang advantage yun. Malaki yung chance na mag-top kasi kukonti lang yung takers. So, may question pa ba? Point of clarification or overloaded yung information?
Sir, paano, sir, kung yun dun sa Zoto, yung Zone 1 Tondo,
Oo.
sir? Kasi, sir, alam ko samahan ng mamamayan yung tawag na ngayon dun, sir. Paano kung mailagay siya sa question Zoto, tapos samahan ng mamamayan at Zoto, isa lang yun, sir, di ba? Pag ganun.
Kung may option na samahan, ano yan? Yung bagong pangalan? Samahan ng mamamayan? Tama ba yung pagkakarinig ko? Ano yung bagong pangalan? Samahan ng mamamayan?
Yes po, sir.
So kung may dalawang option ng samahan ng mamamayan tsaka Zoto, piliin mo yung samahan ng mamamayan. Kasi bakit nilagay ng Board of Examiner yun? Ibig sabihin, updated yung data niya. And of course, yun piliin mo, yung latest. The same with other situation na mapipiliin ka between the group work ni Talmali tsaka group work ni Miklat tsaka the same sila ng idea. So pipiliin mo yung nakalagay na konsepto sa kay Talmali kasi yun yung pinaka-latest. Yun lang yung advice ko. Kung yun yung magiging pagpipilian. Pero kung wala naman, then you stick with Zoto. Kung wala yung Zoto, you stick yung isa. Okay, may question pa ba? Or point of clarification? Wala na? Mukhang natulog na yung iba. It's 9:26. Okay, kung... sige. Okay. Sige, okay. Kung wala nang tanong, thank you for joining. Be consistent lang, no? And you still have more or less 25 days, 26 days before the board exam. Maximize that time. Ako, don't be frustrated. It is normal to be frustrated, but just allow yourself to be frustrated pala. Just allow yourself to be frustrated if nape-pressure na kayo. It is normal to feel that way. Especially kanang napapalapit yung schedule. Sa akin naman, sa aking personal experience, 1 month na lang, hindi pa ako nagkalahati sa aking babasahin. So, please be consistent with your study, review, read and read because there are no other option. And please, before you sleep, before you do anything about your review, pray and ask the guidance. So yan, thank you for joining and see you sa top notch sa mga legions of top notchers. Ayan. Congratulations in advance.
Thank you, sir.
Ito na yung last na discussion ko sa inyo. Okay. Thank you.
Kalain. Bye-bye, sir. Thank you.
Thank you po.
Okay, bye-bye. Ingat, amping mo tanan.